Hi, this is Shannon Knapp, president of Invicta Fighting Championships, and you're listening to WMMA. See Now. Why go anywhere else?
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson. Tonight, we're going to have a little bit of fun here. We're going to do some audience participation. So this video is, I'm going to give my fantasy matchups. But then at the end, I'm going to ask you again to give me your fantasy matchups down below in the comments. So if I get at least 5 people submitting at least one fantasy fight each, I'm going to do a part 2 where I'm going to talk about you guys' fantasy matchups, and I'll even, give you by name. So part 1 is going to be my personal fantasy matchups, and I'll talk about why I want to see them. And then part 2 will be dedicated to you, my listener. So let's get started, okay? So I'm going to go up through start at the bottom weight class at 105, and then I'll go up through. I only have mine up to 125. I don't have any for 135 or 145 right now because none of the matchups I've been wanting to see have happened yet. There's nothing there that really, piques my interest, I guess I should say, as far as, matchups I just really want to see, or, oh, these two fighters, I want to see them fight each other, but they're caught in 2 different promotions on the other side of the world. It's not really happening at 135 or 140, 145 right now. So 105 through 125 for me. I mean, maybe you'll have some in the higher weight classes. But let's get started. 105 atom weight. First up, Jong-un Park versus Yuri Shim. Now, this fight was scheduled to happen at the last Road FC event, and I was so excited for it. I was so looking forward to it, and then it got canceled the week of the fight. Yuri Shim suffered an injury in training, spent several days in the hospital. I was kind of heartbroken that this fight did not happen. So I still think it will happen, but for now, it's back up on my fantasy list. I really want to see it, though. Next up is either of the previous 2 fighters against Ji-yeon-sa. Now, Shim and Park are both in Road FC. Ji-yeon-sa started with TFC, which is like the rival promotion in Korea for Road FC. So they wouldn't have been able to face each other. And now Sa is in the One Warrior series trying to make her way into One Championship. So I think this is the battle of, these are like the 3 top upcoming fighters in the Korean scene. Now, Sa does technically fight at strawweight right now at 115 pounds. I don't think she's ever tried to make atom weight. I think she definitely could. You look at the way she's built, and I definitely believe she could make atom weight, or either of the other 2 could go up to strawweight to fight her, because they both have before. They've both fought at strawweight before. So I just want to see, the 3 best up-and-coming Korean female fighters against each other. And then finally, at 105 pounds, I have Suwonam Bunson versus Alicia Zapatella. This is one I just came up with today. I was thinking, what would be a good matchup? Bunson is, I believe, 3-1. Zapatella is 5-1, 6-1. Both are very strong grapplers, and they're very close in size. Bunson is only 1 inch taller than Zapatella. Usually Zapatella is way shorter than her other opponents because she's only like 4'11". I'd like to see Invicta bring in Bunson no matter what, but particularly her against Zapatella, I think would be an interesting matchup as far as the grappling goes. All right, so that was it for atom weight. Let's look at straw weight. Okay, first up, Angela Lee from One Championship versus anyone in the UFC top 10. So Lee's been hanging around 115 for several years now. One Championship always talks her up as one of the best in the world. She talks like she's one of the best in the world and thinks she can hang with the best in the world. So, I want to see her. I would like to see her matched up with really anyone in the UFC's top 10 just to see if she can hang there. Now, out of all the fighters in the current top 10, I'd particularly like to see her against Michelle Waterson. And this goes back to an interview Michelle Waterson did over in Singapore the last time the UFC held an event there, because, they asked her about Angela Lee, and she said, I just don't think Angela Lee is up to UFC's caliber. Lee did not take that particularly well. She said, well, I forget what she said exactly. But I think she basically implied, well, she's just saying that because she's with the UFC and has to say that. So I'd like to see those two particularly square off. So Lee versus anyone in the UFC top 10, but particularly versus Waterson. Next up, I would like to see at 115 pounds, Tatiana Suarez versus Kanako Murata. Two top shelf wrestlers going at it would be really fun to see. Murata did just fight in Invicta FC recently. I don't know what her contracts are as far as Pancrase and Ryzen go, how loose they are. I mean, we could see Murata in the UFC eventually. It'd be nice to see. But I'd like to see those two top shelf wrestlers. Next up, we'll stick with Suarez. I want to see Suarez versus Weili Zhang. And I think this fight's going to happen. I think this one is a matter of time. Whether Weili Zhang beats Jessica Andrade and then Suarez gets the next shot, or Zhang loses to Andrade and Suarez comes back and takes a fight against her before a title shot. Either way, I think this fight is going to go down, and I think it'll be very interesting to see these two facing off. Can Suarez get the takedown versus Zhang? Can Zhang beat the takedowns of Suarez? Can Suarez stand with Zhang if she can't get the takedown? A lot of nice things I want to see there. So that is definitely a fight I would like to see, and I have no doubt that this fight's going to get made somewhere down the line. And then finally, at 115, at strawweight, I'd like to see Kanako Murata versus Brianna Van Buren. Now, this is a fight I thought could have happened in Invicta, but then UFC needed a replacement fighter, so what did they do? Did they call up any of their roster of, like, how many fighters? No, they went looking around Invicta and go, oh, they got a new champ, let's use her. So Brianna Van Buren's going to face Livia Souza pretty soon. I think that's actually this weekend. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, it's two very good wrestlers that I thought a fight would have taken place between them in Invicta. It hasn't happened, so for now it's back on the fantasy list. Alright, so that was my fantasy fights at 115 strawweight. So let's move up to flyweight, 125 pounds. First off, I want to see the Bellator champ, Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, versus anyone in the UFC's top 5. Now, with Lee at 115, I said top 10. But I think Ilima-Lei Macfarlane has proven herself against a little bit tougher competition in Bellator, where I'd like to see her versus the top 5 in the UFC. Also, I think the UFC flyweight division is weaker and not as competitive as the strawweight division. So that's why it's Macfarlane versus someone in the top 5, just to guarantee that it would be a good, challenging matchup. And then also sticking with Macfarlane, but adding in 2 other fighters, I'd like to see a round-robin style, or any combination of these 3. Vanessa Porto, Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, and Jing Nanxiong. So the Invicta champ, the Bellator champ, and the One Championship champ. Basically to decide who is the best women's flyweight outside the UFC. All 3 of them are champs in their respective divisions. All 3 are in established divisions outside the UFC. But who's the best? Which one of those is the best outside the UFC? That's what I'd really like to see. Really, any combination of those three, but like a round robin would be the best, because that would be the best way to establish which of them is the best outside the UFC. All right, guys. So that was my list of fantasy fights that I would like to see. Now it's up to you, the listener, the viewer. I want to hear your fantasy matchups. So, like I said, if I get at least 5 people responding with at least one fight apiece, uh, I will do a part 2 of this, and I will go over and I'll make up the thumbnails for each of your fantasy fights, and I'll talk about them. But that's, again, that's up to you. I need 5 people, at least 5, with one fight each. Let me know what your fantasy fights are. And I'll be sure to reply to you down in the comments as well. You know, I think following my channel, you know that I tend to reply to people within, you know, the first 24 hours. But this is a special edition. I do want to hear yours back, and please give me the material, and I'll do the part 2. I think it'd be a very fun exercise. So let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, likes are always appreciated, and what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.